Okay, so it's a slightly different episode of 2 Minute Tuesday today, as we were asked a question by a client in an email recently about how Spanish properties differ from North European properties in relation to how they cope with the weather. And so we thought we'll just do a quick 2 Minute Tuesday explaining the main sort of differences that you'll find in Spanish properties to ones that you would find in the north of Europe and maybe even in the north of Spain, where the temperature is very different. So welcome to this week's episode of 2 Minute Tuesday, episode 189, where we go all architectural. So obviously Spain is a really big country, and there's a huge difference in temperature and climate even between the north of Spain and the south of Spain, with the north of Spain being much more like the temperatures that you would find in northern Europe. In the north of Spain you will have very cold winters with ice and snow in sort of high areas. You'll have a cooler autumn and spring, and then the summer temperatures will be at least 10 degrees cooler than the Mediterranean, if not more. And so really the north of Spain mirrors northern Europe, and the Mediterranean Spain is obviously coping with longer, hotter summers, very warm spring and autumn, and a short and more mild winter than you would find in other areas. I've lived here for, I think it's 18 years now. I think we've had heavy snow once on a day, which there's a very famous photograph. If I can find it online, I'll put it on the screen now, where Spain was totally white. I think it was a storm that came down from Russia, and there was a famous picture taken from the space station of a very white Spain. And then other times we just have a very light sprinkling of icing sugar on the top of the mountains, which lasts for barely half an hour, and then the sun comes up and it disappears. So if you do move to southern Spain, don't bring your skis unless you're in the Sierra Nevada, which is where everyone goes for skiing. So what are the main differences that you'll find? So we're going to start at the top of the house. Now, the first thing is pitched roofs. Now, in Northern Europe, obviously because of the rain and the snow, you'll find that the pitch of the roofs is very, very steep in order to evacuate the sort of the snow and the rain from it as efficiently as possible. And again, you'll see that in northern Spain. But as you travel further south, you will find that the pitch of the roofs goes a lot shallower, to the point that in this area you will find that there will be flat roofs. Now, flat roofs is something that the builders have a bit of a conundrum, a quandary with, that everybody in the north of Europe likes to see a pitched roof. And we are, as North Europeans, a little bit wary of flat roofs. Whereas if you look at a lot of sort of Spanish properties, you'll find that they have flat roofs. And it's because there is very little rain here. So what we tend to find is that a lot of the older Spanish properties will have flat roofs. Then there was a period in sort of the early 2000s to the mid 2000s when there was a building boom, lots of North Europeans buying, and a lot of the builders with the style at that particular time put pitched roofs on. And realistically, these pitched roofs are as much cosmetic as they are actually serving a purpose. They were there, purely to give people the confidence that there was a pitched roof. The actual roof underneath it is a flat, waterproof roof. However, they put the pitch on just to give you a little bit of confidence that you're not buying a house with a flat roof. Ironically, all of the new build properties that we build nowadays all have flat roofs. They all come with a 10-year guarantee. The builders will flood the roof, so they'll flood test the roof, leave it totally flooded for a period of 10, 14 days. And if everything is good, then they issue a guarantee on the roof, subject to you not piercing that roof. So we always say to clients when they build a new house that if you decide you want a chimney for a pellet burner or something like that, decide prior to construction, because once they have flood tested the roof, if you were to go through it at any point to add a chimney or any wiring or whatever, you would invalidate the warranty. So flat roofs it's nothing really to worry about. On my particular villa here, we have what looks like a pitch roof, however it disguises a flat roof behind it, so we have a fusion of the two. So that is the roof taken care of. The next one that we've got is property colour. Now, what you will find in the north of Europe is that you will have a mixture of colours, but there will be sort of greys and beiges and browns and the occasional white property. Whereas in Spain, you'll find that there are an awful lot more white properties, and obviously this is to do with reflecting the sun's rays. Well, I don't know if you can see behind me, but at our villa we have it's grey. And what we have found is that you can feel a noticeable difference at the end of an evening in the summer. If you are near any of the walls, you can feel the heat radiating out of the walls, and so there is a big difference between the reflective properties of lighter and darker coloured houses. So most of the light coloured houses here will reflect the sunlight, so that's quite an important thing, and you'll notice that there's a lot of white houses in the area. The flip side of that is that there's a bit more maintenance involved with them, because if you have the sort of the Sahara rain, which we occasionally get here, then it's a case of maybe washing down the house just so it doesn't stain, so that you don't leave the dirty marks on there. So that's the house colours. You'll also notice, if you look at some of the properties on our website, or when you're looking at Spanish properties, there'll be bars on the windows, and this is a sort of throwback to the past, in the days before air conditioning. So you'll find that before air conditioning, you'd like to leave doors and windows open to have a nice breeze come through the property, and obviously you don't want to do that if it means that someone can jump through the window and grab some of your valuables. So a lot of people would put bars on the windows, and then they could go to bed at night and leave the windows open. Obviously today, with air conditioning and modern ventilation and insulation, you don't necessarily need them. So as a security point of view, they're not particularly robust. But you'll find that if you've got air conditioning and things like this, you don't need to leave your windows open in order to keep the room cool. You may also notice that a lot of older Spanish houses, and in fact some of the modern ones that we have designed, will have a courtyard. And this is an inspiration that came over from when the Moors were in the area, and obviously from North Africa they are used to dealing with heat. So you would always generally have an open area in the middle of the property, and you'll find that if you go into the villages here in Hondon as an example, they have very long properties, the village houses, and in the centre there'll be an open area, and this will be tiled, and there'll be shaded areas there, and often a water feature, and this helps develop a cooling area and atmosphere, which then helps in the rest of the house as well. So you'll find quite a few properties will have courtyards. On the construction side, you'll find that older properties have incredibly thick walls and small windows. Now, obviously, the thick walls are because they didn't have the modern insulation that we have available to us today. And so they dealt with both the cold in the winter and the heat in the summer by having incredibly thick walls. And then the small windows are basically, the equation is that if you have a light room, light equals heat. And so you would generally always have smaller windows as possible in order to maintain a darker and cooler environment inside the property. And whilst we're on the topic of windows, what you may find, which is a strange little nuance, is that if you live in the north of Europe, you will have a window ledge primarily on the inside of your property. Whereas if you live in Spain, the window ledge will be on the outside of the window. And this is because in the north of Europe you want the glass as close to the exterior wall as possible to maximise the light that comes into the property, and as I just mentioned, light equals heat. So in Spain they set the window ledge back, and this means that you are not getting as much direct sunlight into the window, which helps to keep the rooms a little bit cooler. So that's it for this week's 2 Minute Tuesday. It's just an interesting one. You know, it's not got nothing to do with taxes or bits and bobs. It's just observations as to how the architectural differences of the properties here in Spain, and why, and little things that you might not take into account when you're moving here. So just a little fun episode today. So that's it for this week's episode. We'll be along in a couple of weeks for the next one. My details should be on the screen at the moment. If you have any questions or queries about this episode, or want more information about buying or selling properties in the area, then please feel free to drop me a line, and we'll be happy to help. So until the next episode, have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Adios.